There we go. Look at that. Looking good. So let's put this to the side. I'll get my quesadillas made up. And we will eat. Hey everybody, Mike Chavez here once again. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Today, gonna make something I've never tried before, but it looks really good. The proper name for it is Carne Guisada. Now, Carne Guisada simply is a Mexican style beef stew, okay? So we got some chuck roast, we got some peppers, some tomatoes. We're gonna cook this down really nice, and it's gonna be good. I'm gonna make some quesadillas out of corn tortillas off camera. I'm not going to show you that. Rice and beans to go with it. But I'm going to show you the carne guisada right here. So y'all stick around. This is going to be good, y'all. Alright, for my carne guisada, recipe calls for 3 pounds of chuck roast. But all I have is a 2-pound chunk. We're going to make that work. So it's a 2-pound chunk of chuck roast. Got some tomato paste. Some diced tomatoes. A little bit of flour, onions, garlic. Now the recipe calls for green bell peppers, but I'm going to put poblanos in this. That's going to be good. For the spice mix, got oregano, got cumino, these are whole seed, and some coriander. Salt, fresh ground black pepper. Some chicken broth and some potatoes. Well, we'll finish it off with. Alright, now for this beef, I'm going to cut it up in about 1-inch chunks. So I'm going to take this roast, cut it this way, cut it down the middle. And we'll cut it in like 1-inch chunks, about like that. Alright, we've got our beef all cut up, nice chunks. So we're going to go ahead, recipe says to season this with salt and pepper. Of course, I'm going to use my Cosmos SPG. I love my Cosmos SPG, so we're going to go up high. Give this a nice little sprinkle. Alright then, we'll let this beef get happy. And I'm going to get my spice mix going. Alright, for my spice mix, for maximum flavor, I'm using my molcajete. I'm going to grind my whole spices. You don't have to do this. You can buy pre-ground already. But I like to do stuff the hard way. So, calls for coriander. So I got some whole coriander seed. It calls for 2 teaspoons of coriander. So here's some coriander here. The 2 teaspoons of coriander. 1.5 teaspoons of cumin or cumino. So that's what I have here. This is whole cumin seed or cumino. I'm going to put a 1.5 teaspoons. Alright, it also calls for a tablespoon of dried oregano, but we'll put that in a minute. So I got some dried oregano here. So what I'm going to do is start crushing this a little bit. Alright, so the recipe calls for also 4 cloves of garlic. So I'm going to do the garlic. I'm going to mash garlic up in here also. So I'm going to go ahead, put my tablespoon of dry oregano in here. Now this is good Mexican oregano. So with this Mexican oregano, you want to kind of grind it up with your fingers a little bit. Put it in there. Scrape the sides down. Now to get this out of the bowl, or out of the molcajete, put a little water in here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and set this aside for now, and we'll get this beef going. Actually, I'm going to leave this off camera. I'm going to cut up my onions and my peppers before I get my beef going. So let me get these cut up and I'll bring y'all back. Alright, so we got everything ready. That's 2 medium onions chopped up. I've got, was it 3 or 4 poblano peppers. Now the recipe calls for green bell pepper, and in the recipe says to add the bell pepper when you add the potatoes later. But since we're using poblanos are a little more substantial, so I'm going to put those in at the beginning of the cook so they break down. And poblanos will have more give more character to the dish for sure. I got my tomato paste open, and it said to drain the cubed tomatoes. So let's get this beef browned up. So we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of avocado oil. Use any kind of oil you like, any kind of vegetable oil. Now the recipe says we're going to brown this beef, but the recipe said just to brown half of it. Reason is we want a good browning on it. We want good fond in the bottom. We don't want to burn the fond. Okay, so we want this spread out, touching. Alright, we've got one side browned, so we turned it over. And we'll get the other side browned up. Alright, this meat is browned up pretty good. So let's take it out of the pot and we'll put it back on the same tray with this raw beef. It's all going in together. Alright. So we've got a little bit of fond in there. A little bit of oil is rendered out of the beef. So let's take and put our peppers, our onions, and our poblanos on in. Alright, we'll let this go about 7 minutes or so. Let these onions and peppers soften a bit. Alright, so these onions are pretty much translucent, a little soft. So now, recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Put that down in there. Let this tomato paste cook a little bit. Alright, we'll take our garlic, cumin, coriander with our oregano. I'm going to put a little bit chicken stock in here just to get it out of the bowl. Alright, we'll get that in there. Turn this heat up a bit. All right, we'll get this let this cook a little bit. Just 1 tablespoon. We're not making chili here. 1 tablespoon chili powder. Let this cook a little bit. Couple minutes. Got 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. Let that cook in. Alright, so we'll put our diced tomatoes in that we drained. And about a cup of chicken broth. Stir this up, scrape the bottom. Make sure you scrape down the sides too. Rest of the chicken broth. Alright, we'll put our meat back in. Cooked and raw. Any juices that accumulated. Alright, get this mixed in. Now this is going to take about 1.5 hours, 2 hours to finish. If we leave it here on the stove, it's probably going to scorch. So the directions say put this in the oven. So I got my oven set to 325 on about the middle rack. Alright. So we'll put the lid on this, put it in the oven for about 1.5 hours. We'll bring it out and put the potatoes in it. Alright, put the lid on. Let's get this in the oven. Alright, in the oven. Set our timer for 1.5 hours. Alright y'all, it's been almost 1.5 hours. So I'm going to cut my potatoes up. Alright y'all, the Guisada has been in there for 1.5 hours. Let's take it out. Hot, hot. So let's get this lid off, see what we got. Give this a little stir. Looking good, looking good. Scrape down these sides a little bit. Put our taters in. Stir it up. Alright then. Put the lid back on. So this is going to go back in the oven for about 45 more minutes till the taters are done. Alright, see y'all in a little bit. Alright, let's see what we got here. Man, smells good, looks good. So let me get one. It feels a little hard. Let's take a little taste. And check for doneness, seasoning. Let's check out the meat. Do a little salt. About a teaspoon or so. Throw some pepper in there for good measure. Alright, back in the oven for 15 more minutes. We'll be ready to eat, y'all. Alright. Here we go. Look at that. Looking good. So let's put this to the side and get my quesadillas made up. And we will eat. Alright, let's serve this stuff up. Carne Guisada, a little on the plate. Got some cheesy refried beans. Got some cilantro and onion. Put some raw onion on there, some cilantro. And some salsa. A little hot salsa. Quesadillas. Alright, y'all. That's ready to go. There we go. Let's eat. Here we go. Carne Guisada. Right there. Taters, beef, tomatoes, Poblano chilies, refried beans, and some little quesadillas to go with it. So let's check this stuff out, shall we? So let's get a little bit of everything, a little bit of meat, some tater. There we go. Y'all ready for this? I'm ready for this. Carne Guisada. Taste. The meat's nice and tender. A little bit of beans. Some of the quesadilla. Right on, y'all. That's good stuff right there. So, carne guisada, or Mexican style beef stew, right here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. You might want to make this. It's really good. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave me a thumbs up. Questions, comments, leave them below. Got some more videos over here you might like to see. Check them out. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button right there. Alright, y'all. Thanks for coming. See you next time. Bye, everybody.